we're live on
Whew.
YouTube. What's up, bro?
What's up, dude? I almost didn't make it there.
Dude, I was like, we have to start. We have to start.
I know. We always have audio
Oh,
problems right
man.
when we start, and then I got put under the gun on that. And I'm like, it's not loading right.
I was
I don't know
like,
what's
Bill,
happening.
I'm hitting the 1 minute mark. So you better figure out this mic thing
I know.
before we get started. Well, welcome everybody. This is our final podcast of the year. This is our Mount Rush Moments episode. If you guys are new to the podcast or new to the show, our Mount Rush Moment episode is our top 4 because there are 4 Mount Rush Moment statue heads. And we're going to pick our top 4 moments, memories, and stories of the CrossFit season. And here's the cool thing is that if you guys are watching with us live on YouTube, you can hop into the comments, let us know what your favorite moments of the year are as we talk through this. And I'm excited. We haven't done one of these in a while.
I know. We always did them on competitions. We haven't really done one. Actually, I don't think we even last year. I don't think we did a Mount Rush Moments for the year.
Oh, we didn't do one for the CrossFit Games?
We did it for the games, but not for the whole year. Whereas this one is different. Like we're doing like the whole CrossFit season.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe this is our first seasoned one. I
think so. Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I'm really excited about it.
And like the whole.
So, all right. Here's the best part. If you guys are watching live, you can jump into the chat. We'll bring up what you guys want to talk about, and we'll swap some stories with you guys. Now, here are the ground rules. There are no ground rules.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Yeah, it's personal to you. I think we did these a lot through the recapping of the games years and how we thought those years went for ourselves. And it's moments, memories, and stories personal to you. I have a few in there that are obviously personal to me. It's and that's the fun part. What were your top 4 favorite things of the year? And I'm excited to get to this. We haven't done it in a while. And before we get to it, I want to play the music. But it's been so long, I don't know which button it is. So I think I know where it is on the board. But you're right. It has been a while, and I can't remember. Who knows? Like, Bill's Wolverine may come up. Captain America may come up.
Who knows? Who knows?
I believe I know which one it is. And if you guys have followed us for the years, this is probably the best music we have on the show. So, without further ado, our Mount Rush moments of the 2021 CrossFit season.
I gotta buy one of those slide whistles.
It's
gotta get one somewhere.
I feel like one time we should gift that to each other. We can figure out how to play it, because that would be
cool.
The fun part. So, all right. Since we haven't done it in a while, who do you want to go first? Who wants to take the lead? Do you want to take the lead?
I'll take the lead on it.
You take the lead. What is your first Mount Rush moment?
All right. So, I think, we talked about there weren't any rules, obviously, but we're talking about the CrossFit game season, right? Are we just talking the whole year?
I mean, it can be a whole year. Like I said, it's the 2021 season. If you want to make it about the games, if you want to do something specifically for CrossFit,
Okay. I mean, because I kind of knew where I was going. I just want to make sure we're in the right place. My first thing was the invention of and the distribution of the quarterfinals.
Oh, you son of a gun.
Community.
That was okay. Yeah. This might be a short episode because that's one of mine as well.
Well, I mean, you got to look at what it is. It was, and we talked about this before, how it really, when the regionals was taken away, there was a large number of athletes. Those athletes that were like, anywhere from like 20 to 120 at each of those regionals that felt like that was their competition, that was their games. now the athletes behind them were like, yeah, I'm in this and I'm doing pretty well, but that's just, I can't make it there. I can't make it there. And that disappeared. I mean, with the sanctionals and everything like that, like it ended up being where you had to be a top 5 athlete really to kind of play the game at all. And with the open coming back where it was supposed to be, and changing the rules a little bit to where you allowed the 10%, the top 10% to move to that next step. We talked about how great that was for the individual affiliates and the cheering and the camaraderie that could happen during that time, as you had these athletes who just thought they were decent in the gym that actually got to go. And now, instead of everybody doing the open and everybody, you had your one judge that was cheering you on and maybe 2 other people, but everyone's going at the same time, to now you have 15 people watching you and everybody's cheering and everyone's getting fired up. So I think that was huge. And it really, I think, I mean, and we could talk about issues in the quarterfinals, but I think as a whole, that was such an amazing thing to give to the affiliates as a community, but then also as a qualifying step into the semifinals. It was, I think that it's perfect to go from 10%, which is a big group of people that all get to play, and you don't lose the shuffle, or you get that extra sifting cup to get the right people into the semifinals. So I thought that was awesome. I was so stoked on that.
That's one of mine as well. Again, these are in no particular order, but I had written down the quarterfinals. I think for the game season going forward, obviously the shortening of the open was pretty sweet, but to have that quarterfinal set up, I wasn't sure how it was going to go until it actually went down. And I was like, okay, more people get to play, another layer of competition. Part of me was like, oh, I got to do some more online competition.
Yeah.
Was the open really shorter, but it's really extended? But once I didn't really know how much I was going to enjoy it until I was in it. And I'm with you. It's like, it was such a cool, fun step for the affiliate, because it really was outside of the realm of, the top 1%, or not even that, right? If you're in the United States, it was, or North America, it was 120 athletes of the 10,000 that were qualifying, basically.
Yeah.
Or I guess this year was like 7,000. I don't know what the percentage is. I can't do it off the top of my head, but to have that added in there, so let's just say 0.1% or 1%, whatever. 0.1, not a lot.
Right.
Math is hard. I need to drink more coffee, but to have that make it very accessible for, regionals was still for like elite athletes. Like up until once the last year regionals in 2018, like if you qualified for regionals, you were borderline elite, right?
Yeah.
You had a chance at the games, or you were hands down, head and shoulders above anybody in your gym that was just an average CrossFitter. And now at the quarterfinals, it allows those that are your staple, say, RX athletes in your programmed workouts in your affiliate, have a legitimate chance to qualifying. One of our members was like, he qualified inside like the last 10 spots.
Ooh.
And he was stoked, and I was stoked for him. It was really cool. So it added another layer of competition that added more, I would say, prestige for more people, because that's a big deal. Like before, like regionals was, after like 2012, 2013, like regionals was not possible to make unless, like I said, you were one of the best in the world. And now it's just to make regionals. And now that you have this step, I think it made it really fun for the affiliates, because the open is fun. The open is the open. It's obviously a little bit lower of a bar of entry to do it, but to have the quarterfinals there, it just was so much more fun than I thought it was going to be. And I can't wait to it to be more fun if there may be different programming than there was last year,
I was gonna see if we were able to actually stay away from that as much as possible, but I think you're right, man. And not even the fact that it allowed more people to play, but now you had these athletes that will RX in their gym, Maybe they're local, decent local competitors at local competitions or whatever. But now all of a sudden, now it matters. And watching these athletes that don't normally have the competition pressure, or it's like, oh man, I have to do this. Like I'm stepping into, they're no longer the big fish in a really little pond.
Right.
They're a very medium-sized fish in a very big pond, and just that change makes everybody nervous. So it was really interesting to watch people that we've had in our gyms that qualified into that went from being like everyone's chasing them to now all of a sudden their eyes get real big, and it's like it's their first week in CrossFit all over again, because now they're not battling up the normal people that they beat on a regular basis. They're beating other people that it's like, I'm in this pool in the world.
Right.
You don't really, I think we've done the open now so many times that we don't really think about that anymore.
No, because
there's a leaderboard. It's like I'm just on the leaderboard, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be 35,000th, so whatever. But now all of a sudden it's like, ooh, it's top 1,000 or top 4,000 or whatever the number might be. I just thought it was awesome. It ramped it up for everyone in a very positive way. Now, again, if we can get to where we're not doing 9 gazillion GHCs, then it'll be awesome. But it was really cool.
The big separator there is because obviously the open is still a competition that we all sign up for and compete with, but we sign up for the open, right? We pay to play.
Yeah.
For the quarterfinals, I think the biggest difference for people is aside from the programming and it being like truncated into 3 days and 6 workouts or 5 workouts. I can't remember how many there were, but you qualified for this.
Yeah.
So I think when you qualify for something, it adds a little bit more pressure and prestige to that. So I think that was a big part of maybe people getting nervous, because in the open, it's like they're pretty basic events. Like they can be challenging for most, depending if it's an intensity challenge or a difficulty skill weight challenge. But when you qualify for something, it does add a different element to the competition at which you're doing. So I think I really love that. I really did. And I think, we won't dive into the program. We've done enough of that. But I think what would be cool is maybe hopefully they see that you actually didn't have to make it too challenging to get the next people there, because think like the open used to get people to regionals, which is now the modern day semifinals. And those workouts weren't batshit crazy.
Right.
They weren't too heavy. They weren't too much volume. And spamming the comments. What is this? Jason, spamming the comments, Briggs running with Danielle Brandon. Oh, yes. That's a great one.
That is a good one.
So Travis's first mountain rush moments, Jason Watkins is this Tyler? Taylor? Fuck, I keep Tyler. Is this Tyler, Taylor, Jason? What's up, dude? Briggs running with Danielle Brandon at the CrossFit Games. That was sweet.
Yeah.
That was a good moment. I like that one. That was a good one. But as far as the programming is like, I think in the first year, they really didn't know what it was supposed to look like, or how hard it needed to be to get people to semifinals. And I think somewhere in between what they did last year and what general open programming was in the previous years, I think it would be perfect.
Totally. Yeah. And again, like, the last time we talked about this on one of the shows, I think that I'm willing to give as much quote unquote discussion as we had on what the programming was. Like I am 100% willing to give all kinds of grace, because it was the first time and we didn't know what it was supposed to look like. So, some of the events were great. Other ones were not. And I think it will just get better than that. But with that, regardless of that, it was one of the best things that we have had for our, it was one of the best things next to what the open was for the affiliates. Letting that in, you know what I mean? Hands down. So is that your number 2 then?
No, that was my number what?
So is that your number 1 as well? So
no. That was Mr. Watkins.
No, I'm talking about yours.
Oh. No,
did we both do the quarterfinals?
Yeah, we both agree.
Or are you?
I'm not changing mine. I'm agreeing with you. That was my number 1 as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're moving on to number 2 already. Look at that.
Dang.
Rush moment number 2. I guess you're leading it off again because I followed up with agreeing with you.
Mine was not necessarily an individual moment like what Tyler was talking about with the Sam and Danielle thing, but this year seemed very different. We've always had like young athletes coming in and kind of like everyone going, "Ooh, here's a young person. Here's a young person." And on the guys' side, there was definitely some younger athletes. I mean, with Justin Medeiros in there, Guy in there, and some of the other athletes that were in there. But on the women's side, when we have Tia that's had such a massive career and has left such a massive eclipse over all the women that are in there. And whether she's going to do this event this year, and then continue past that or whatever she's going to do, the fact that we had 3 women that are under 18 that made it through, Emma Carey, Mal O'Brien, Emma Lawson, those
Dude, Emma
3
Lawson.
girls, dude, like as an older athlete, I was always, you always get kind of the, how can you do what you're doing at the age that you are? You just kind of do what you do and whatever. I mean, there's always been that. You always see these young people kind of coming in. But like, I have never seen anybody come in like this. And it's not one person. It's not like it's Haley Adams came in where they're like, okay, well, she's going to be decent. Like these girls came in and smashed the door down. Emma Carey, 2nd in the Open. Mal O'Brien, 5th in the Open. Emma Lawson, 15th in the Open. 17, 17, and 16. Then you have 4th in the quarterfinals for Emma. You have 3rd for Mal O'Brien in the quarterfinals. You have Emma as 24th in the quarterfinals. Then you have Mal O'Brien 7th at the games. Emma Carey 16th at the games, and Emma Lawson's missed it by getting 9th at the Atlas games.
But then she goes and wins her division. I mean, I'm not surprised about that, but
totally. I mean, like that. You talk about, with Justin and the what's coming up for our sport. Like, these girls are gonna be in here a long time, and that to me is it's just unreal. That foundation's just unreal.
Yeah. It feels like it's coming like in a huge tidal wave tsunami.
Yeah.
Where before we're like, oh, Haley made it. Look, guys, one of the teenagers finally made it to the individual competition.
Yeah.
And then she's good. And then the next year or 2 years, and maybe after, it's like bam, 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 bam. Like,
yeah.
I mean, we may see 3 or 4 athletes, female athletes, competing at the CrossFit Games, legitimately competing at the CrossFit Games next year under the age of 18.
Totally. I mean, you look at like Haley Adams, you look at Gabby Magala, you look at Guy. Those athletes were all in the teen division and made a name for themselves in the teen division. I mean, for the most part, these guys just skipped it.
Right.
Like, it's like teen division. I'm good. I'm good. I'm gonna go line up next to Tia and beat her in a wall walking event. I was like, what the heck, man? I just think that like that was such an unbelievable just in the fact of the age thing and all that. But 2, the other thing is that I think it really sets a very cool statement out there for young women that, hey, guess what? You're allowed to be strong. You're allowed to be fast. You're allowed to be competitive. You're allowed to be aggressive. I mean, I have 2 daughters, and I love seeing that stuff.
Dude,
I mean,
I got 1, but she's not even 2, but like she's already like,
I mean,
I'm so screwed.
I am a athletic old school male, and I'm all about like be tough and be a gentleman and be competitive, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that for girls that want to do that too, because you can still be a girl and still kick ass, and that's what these 3 women are doing. And I think it's an awesome foundation for our sport, and then just for girls in general.
Yeah, I think girls in general is huge, right? Like the sport's cool, but like to see that from such a young demographic is huge, especially in this day and age. And I might get off topic a little bit, but you did inspire me because I have a daughter as well.
Yeah.
But I don't want to sound like this old man, but like in this day and age with social media and the social pressures of being like liked and popular virtually,
Yeah.
and the amount of like teenage depression and things like that and body image issues and all that other stuff that they have to deal with because of, I think, a lot of their inability to get out into the real world.
Yeah.
Like they live on social media and they let a number of like likes or not a number of likes like dictate who they are as people and their worth as an individual. And I think seeing the empowerment that these young girls are already doing for themselves can be huge just for the girls in general, like you said.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Who is this? Let's see. Fabrice, you're number 2. Castro's classic open announcement for 21.4. I thought you were going to say Castro's classic flub for 21.4. If you guys remember this, but Dave will post a lot on social media, on his stories about what's coming up and what he's doing in the open announcements. And he actually messed up because he took a picture of the wall and it had 21.3 and 21.4 written on the wall that he didn't see,
Yeah.
and totally gave it away. Which is funny because when we're on set for doing these things, like they tell us, like, you absolutely do not get your phone out and take pictures and post anything ever. Like, just don't do it. Like, well, what if I posted the rig? Like, everybody knows it's the same rig. I was like, no, nothing. Or Dave will kill you.
Yeah, they have cement shoes for that.
And Dave's the one that mess it all up. All right, my Mount Rush moment, my second one, is along the same vein. And for me, getting Dave Castro back for the live open announcements was huge. I love Dave and the open announcements. It's so much fun for me, and as quirky as his pauses and his drama and his, serial killer writing on the whiteboard, which I'm pretty sure he doesn't know what hand he actually is, like what his dominant hand is. I love that. And to me, it's not the open until we have that. And we didn't have that. What is it? Was 2019, 2020, or was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. For 2 years, we didn't have that. And it really sucked. And so for it to come back was super fun. Now, the sad part is that I think it's going away again.
I know.
On his call, he says he'll be a part of it in some form or fashion, but we'll see. But I love him. I love that. No, not Dave. What? I'm a big fan of Dave. I like Dave. I love his open announcements. It just it feels like the open, and that's what it was all the way back to 2011. And then when they start doing them live, like I just love the show and the drama of all of it. So having those back was super fun. Let's see, what do we have here? Come back to this at the end. Oh, sure. Sorry. Didn't.
You're on, you're off. You're on, you're off.
I'll bring him on when I come back to this at the end. All right. So that was my number 2. Bill, what is your Mount Rush moment number 3?
I don't think we could talk about 2021 without bringing Ricky Garard's comeback into it.
Yes.
The reason I think it's important is the fact that we haven't had anybody that has been busted and then has come back. And I mean, it was, I'm not going to say that Dubai was the field that it has been in the past, but it was really good to see him compete. And like, look, I am a purist when it comes to sport and competition. And if you are going to take a shortcut, then screw you, and you deserve to be slammed and smashed and penalized and all that kind of stuff. But if you do all that and you make it past your time, I mean, we talk about the youth of the sport, being able to get popped, have a 4-year ban. And I mean, lucky, I guess, in his court, the fact that it happened during the whole pandemic where 2 years just kind of vanished. But that whole comeback of him being back in and him coming back, talking about like, I'm ready, get me back in there. I mean, your show with him, the Lance Armstrong setup, basically, with you and him, I think was great. And then it was really great to watch him at Dubai. I mean, it was, to me, it's like, look, I don't like or dislike because of what he did. But now it's like, all right, there's the line up, and you've been tested and you're clean at least as of right now. So boom, you're in. I think that is pretty. I think that is one. It's the first time in our sport and is a massive mark in our sport. Something I think is going to be really cool.
100%.
Do we really have Sevon that just entered?
Sevon has joined in the chat.
Podcast master on our little bitty show.
Oh, hey, man. What's up,
dude?
That's awesome. Sevon, Sam offering to run with Daniel Brandon. That is another vote for that one. I mean, the way that went down too, if you guys didn't know really the backstory of that, is they basically asked Daniel Brandon was secluded by herself because of COVID protocols. So she really wasn't allowed to compete next to anybody.
Yeah.
And then they were doing basically the 400-meter run, and the staff or the head judges asked if anybody wanted to run with Daniel Brandon, and he won, so she didn't have to run by herself. And the first person to raise her hand almost before the words could get out of their mouth was Sam Briggs. Like, Sam Briggs she's a real one. She's super OG. She's just a total absolute badass. And, she is a pillar of the sport, and really what it means to just like be a competitor, but also like be just a badass friend and, comrade through the whole process. So like that was big on Sam.
That was huge.
That's huge.
That was huge.
All right. My third one is going to be in the same vein as yours as far as the Ricky Garrard. And, the comeback was great. The more personal thing for me this year with Ricky was actually getting to interview Ricky and be the first and only interview with Ricky for the CrossFit Games podcast. And, it was almost 2 hours long, and it was his first real forward-facing opportunity to address what had happened over the course of 4 years. Like, he really disappeared into the shadows.
Well, sort of, except for like on social media.
Yeah, social media. He started, we talked about that. Like, hey, your first thing back, you probably shouldn't say the C word to Matt.
Hey, in his defense, we had to confer with our other Australian friends and be like, hey, is this okay to say that? And it's like, oh yeah, that's like saying like good friend.
Yes. Now,
okay.
it's also like saying the word fuck. Like, you can use that in so many different wonderful ways. And I'm pretty sure the way he was using the C word then was not in pal, mate, or buddy. But all joking aside, is like giving Ricky an opportunity to come clean, giving him a platform to really talk about what had happened, and he was very open and honest. I know it was a tough interview as far as, listen, to sit there and face the music publicly with knowing that it's going public, like different than a documentary series where they just kind of like snaked him and whatever. But what was really cool there, and obviously this is a personal moment for me, was getting an opportunity to show compassion, forgiveness, and give someone an opportunity to make amends, right? I'm not giving him a pass. I've yet to give him a pass on what he did, and I never will give him a pass, but I will give you a second chance. And what was really cool to come out of that was when we were previewing that was going to happen, or when the CrossFit Games were posting pictures of Ricky and promoting him a little bit, especially when he got the invite to Dubai, and all the like hate and negativity in the comments from everybody going in. And then once we got to do the interview, coming out of it, I got so many direct messages on people who actually changed their point of view on Ricky to the stance of, I will give him a second chance. And being able to humanize Ricky a little bit in people's eyes, or at least give people a better platform to judge, because people are going to do that. Like, people are people. Like, you can't change human nature, and everybody has their opinion on things, and everybody's entitled to their opinion, but giving Ricky a platform to really humanize him a little bit more, the amount of people that messaged me or I saw in the comments that were like, you know what, I am going to give him a second chance. And like, that was really cool. That was really cool and like really personal for me, is to just help a guy out and give him a platform. Right. And the platform is like, okay, you did what you did. You've paid your dues. Now do something with it. Like, if you're truly sorry, and then prove it. And I'm going to give you every opportunity to do so.
And I think that the way you handled the interview was great, because I think that was important. It's important for our community to hear that. My personal feel on that was, it's not about him getting a second chance. It's like, okay, man, if you're saying that you are what you are and you still want to compete, you paid your parking ticket. Now let's get back out there and see what happens. Like, there doesn't need to be a, whether the community decides to give him a second chance or not, or, how dare anyone say anything good about this guy? I mean, it's like, look, get on. If you have something to say about him, get on the line with him. I mean, like, granted, like you said, I hope CrossFit doesn't do, it's not that it's doing him a favor, it's doing our sport a favor by, you're coming back out, you are the first person we're testing.
Yes.
And you're probably going to be tested pretty often, so just get ready, just because of what it was.
I heard he got tested twice at Dubai.
Good.
Like during and then one after, twice.
Perfect.
Which is freaking awesome.
Yeah. I mean, for him, I know, totally. For him, I hope it's like, dude, test me every day if you want. I mean, like that to me is more of the bravado now of, okay, granted, you got me before. I cheated. Done. Now I'm still going to come in and I'm still somebody. Watch me.
Mm-hmm.
Get on the line and do it. And the testing is a testing, but like the whole, needing to have a second chance, and it's like, it's not about a second chance. He did what he was supposed to do, which was he paid his 4 years. Now it's like, at that point, it doesn't matter. Get on the line and we go. And hopefully everyone on the line is clean, so that it's a race. And then the results of that race will do whatever. But I thought that, like, your interview was great.
Thanks, man.
I mean, it's hard to understand Ricky half the time when he's talking, because
he was speaking like 3-letter responses. I'm like, I'm so glad I wrote down 50 questions to ask you. If it was just 5, this would be the interview of all time.
But it was awesome, and that was the first time we've had anything big like that happen in our sport. So that was huge, and I'm glad that you were part of that. That was awesome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What are some other people's coming up? See, Renata.
Dude, these people have some good ones.
Yeah, the community running with Scott Panchak at the CrossFit Games. That's a great one. I really like
Jacqueline's
that one.
on there. Get Jacqueline.
Yeah, on there. I was going to put it on there. That's actually my 4th one. No, Jacqueline, if you're still listening, I see yours, and you actually guessed my last one that we're about to do. What's Renata's other one? I'll throw this up there. Let's see. But the best one was Annie. Yeah, Annie snatching at the games, and the face that she made when she was at 200 that she hit.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, is when the CrossFit media redoes like their CrossFit Games highlight package, like every NFL, NBA, like they have this sports action of the times, and like the historical figures like Gibson running on the bases, pumping his fists after hitting a home run, or Jeter and like all that other stuff. Like I could see Annie's that face, and like just like her first muscle up, we see that highlight all the time. The time from the 2009 CrossFit Games. I think that one trumps that one. Just it's crazy. That was the whole moment and behind it. I mean, that was a good one.
I think it totally does, especially because of I mean, her first muscle up, like that was cool, and the community around, all circling around her and helping her out, and Chuck trying to help her get up there and coach her through it and the whole deal. Like all of that is really, really cool, because that, like, I see that as not about Annie. I see that about as literally the budding of our sport, like the blooming of the CrossFit Games and what we are. But this one was, here's a lady that's been in the sport for a long time. She just had a kid. Which a lot of things for a lot of women, a lot of them think that, okay, they're a mom and now they can't do anything. But her face was now not the normal Annie smile of, hi guys. Yeah, it's me. I'm waving to everybody. That was more of it was outside of herself. That was an internal shock of, oh shit, that actually went up. And you don't normally see a high level athlete with that sort of an expression, because that shocked her. And that's what was so amazing about that.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think part of it too is like Annie's first muscle up. Yeah, that was cool, but like there was no context or emotional like build up to that.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have muscle ups. Was she 19?
Yeah.
So wow. Okay. That's crazy.
Yeah.
She's trying to get her first muscle up. She's 19 years old. She finally gets it. It's like, oh, it's cool. But all the lead up to her and that lift off between her and Tia and everything she had to go through as far as postpartum depression, that a big thing for a lot of women, not just women athletes, maybe more so women athletes, is like, am I ever going to be the same again?
Totally. Yeah.
Am I ever going to be the same again? And if you were that, and it's different when you are one of the best in your sport in the history of the sport, because your identity at the age of 19 has been a CrossFit Games athlete, one of the best to ever do it. She is on our Mount Rush moments or Rushmore for the women, right? We have Matt Fraser, Rich Froning, Tia Toomey, and Annie Thorstadter.
Yeah.
And after her performance last year in 2021, because like, okay, should we replace one of them? Should we replace Annie with somebody else? And the answer is unequivocally no.
Yeah, no way. No way.
And to hit that, it was just, you're right. There was way more involved in that than just like getting your first muscle up.
Yeah.
All right, Bill, we have come to our last rush moment.
My last one. And I think that, there's been some very iconic, I don't want to say, and it's hard. Like I'm really bad. Like all these people brought up some great individual moments. My moments are like much more broad stroked, just because a year, there's so many individual things, and how do you whittle it down to 4? But for our sport, there have been, I think, chapters. We had the Rich Froning chapter. We had the Matt Fraser chapter. And we turned the page and went to the Justin Medeiros chapter.
Oh.
I don't think that he's going to be a one and done kind of guy.
Ooh.
And the reason I say that is because, the fact that he won in the games was impressive. The way he lifted, again, like he's not the strongest lifter out there, but when he was doing the snatch, it's like he did everything right. Every time it was like a damage control position for him. He rose to the level that he needed to not just do damage control, but to kind of like keep him in the mix. Where he did really well. His drive was impeccable throughout it, and it was impressive to watch him perform. But watching him at Rogue, you still have all the big names were at Rogue. And granted, it's not game season, like I get that, but he looked better out of season than he did in season at the games. And I can't say enough about that guy. Like that to me is like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, okay, we're gonna be stuck here again for a handful of years.
Yeah, right.
And he's not an old guy either. He's another young. He's a young.
What is he,
22, I think. 23.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, how can you say that he hasn't hit his prime yet, man? He has not hit his prime yet. And I don't, like, you listen to him talk in interviews, and it's funny, we had his mom on here that last time. That
was so cool. She jumped on here.
And one of the greatest things about him is I don't think he realizes just how good he is yet. And that is dangerous. Like, it's not a confidence thing. He's not scared to go up against anybody. He trains with Matt Fraser now. It's like, okay, you have the best that we've ever had, as your training partner on occasions, and so there's no one that you're ever going to be afraid to line up to, and he's just smiling the whole time.
Yeah.
And like he is at the beginning of his career. He hasn't peaked out. So I think that we have turned the page, and it happened in this year in impressive fashion.
I totally agree. And I always feel silly is like saying something so over the top.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't like clickbait media chatter, because you don't want to just say off the first win, he's like, is this the next Froning and Fraser? But I mean, the kid looks so good. And like you said, his arrow is trending up exponentially in front of our eyes. Like, he's at the base of his rise when he won the games. Like, he was just getting good, which is crazy to think.
Yeah.
All right. My fourth one, and this falls in line with what Jacqueline was saying. Well, I'll put hers up first. When you and Sean were crying during
Bunch
the
of
broadcast
weepy babies.
after Panchak retired, it made it better. I loved it. It showed the authenticity that you guys, that your love for the sport. Yes. If you guys didn't watch the games broadcast or heard it, I did cry. I wept. I didn't even cry. I wept. Oh, during the Scott Panchak retirement. In fact, I'll put it this way, and this is my fourth one. It's the final event of the CrossFit Games in total, where it was so damn emotional. And Jacqueline was saying this too, is that it wasn't just Scott. Like, Scott kickstarted the cry fest for me. You know, saying like he's been such an awesome person. He's been an amazing, incredible athlete, and to see like the family stuff, the dad daughter stuff, like the dad kid stuff, like that all gets me. You know, that's, I don't know. I'm already sappy to begin with, and now that I'm a dad, it doesn't help at all. But yeah, like the Scott retirement, his final appearance on the competition floor, that caught me by surprise. I think the only time I've cried on the broadcast was with you. Prior to that,
Yeah.
was it was during the adaptive division in Wadapalooza.
Mm-hmm.
What year was that? Was that our first year?
No.
17? 16 or 17?
16 or 17.
Yeah. I wasn't ready for that. That got me. But the Scott thing got me. The Justin Medeiros thing got me because
Lunging to his parents,
and his parents surprised him at the finish line because that wasn't their seats. But, you know, God bless the CrossFit community. The two that were right there at the finish line in front of Justin Medeiros' lane gave their seats up for Justin's mom and dad so they could be there for their son's finish, lunged to the finish, and seeing him hug his dad, and like his dad was just like had his hands up to the air and just saying thank you, and like, man, that was emotional for me. And then the Annie Thorstadter, like fighting her ass off to get back onto the podium, and nothing was set until that final event, and what she went through all weekend, and to see her emotion and to watch her evolve in the sport again since 2009 and being able to follow these athletes. It's been really fun. And I'd love your take on this. Someone asked me why I was so emotional this year. And I think it's because, you know, you have your Scott Panchaks who've been in the game for a decade, and Annie who's been in it for 13 years now. She's competed in every decade of the CrossFit Games, which is crazy. Like Sean Woodland's favorite stat. But the reason why it was so emotional for me is watch these guys grow up in front of our eyes through the sport of CrossFit.
Yeah.
Like Annie was she was a child. She was 19 years old when she first came to the CrossFit Games. We watched her get her first ring muscle up. You know, and then she goes on and wins the CrossFit Games twice, and then she meets Frederick, and they start a relationship, and we followed that, and then they got married, and then she got pregnant, and then she had a baby, and then she came back. Like, we watched an entire life cycle in front of our eyes, and the same thing for Scott Panchak. And a lot of these athletes who are retiring, who have been in the sport for, 7 to 10 years, which is 80% to 90% of the length of which this sport has been going on. And you and I have had first row and sometimes backstage passes to these people as human beings, not just CrossFit athletes. And to see that on display and watch the human element of the sport, because when we call the sport, like, we're calling athletes on the floor, what they're doing and how they're doing it, not who they are as people, because you can't do that.
Right.
But for that moment in the final, there was that element of just that human element of just life and people that really got me. And that it was the most emotional CrossFit Games I've ever witnessed, or ever been a part of.
Mhm.
And that final was just, whoa, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was super awesome. Was it the greatest CrossFit Games of all time? Nah. Was it some of the best competition we've seen? Not really. But man, it was one of the most emotional one I've probably been a part of. So
I'd agree with that. I'd
that
agree
was
with
my
that.
fourth. That was my
It's a
fourth
good
one.
one, man. It's a good one.
Yeah. So those are our four. You guys had some great ones in here. Okay, I'll go back to Tyler's. Oh, nope, that's his. Come back. Circling back. Tough question. Would anything from 2021 make it on our all-time Mount Rush moments? So we've been doing this episode or this series for 2 years now. Yet our Mount Rush moment episodes have spanned all the way back to where, I guess, 2000, since we started following the games. So 15 years of the CrossFit Games of memories, even though we weren't a part of those directly for all of them. Anything this year, if we had a top 10 of all time? That's a good question.
I think as an all-time thing, I think Annie's would definitely be there because of the fact 3 decades of competition and
Right.
watching. I mean, just how you lined it out. I mean, amazingly is watching her entire lifetime.
Yeah.
The only thing we haven't seen with Annie in the CrossFit sphere is when she was like preteen. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, other than that,
Yeah.
from 19 on, we've watched her go through all those things. And the fact that, again, like a lot of athletes, I think there's a little bit of show that they put on for their fans in the crowd or whatever, their social media, their, that character that they're putting out there. But that lift, when she hit that lift, surprised her. That was Annie Thorisdottir from inside showing.
Yeah.
So I think if you talk about a moment like that, and again, just because of who it is, because it's Annie, because we've seen the first muscle up, because we've seen her, on top of the podium, because we've seen and heard about, what it's like to have a kid and wondering if you're going to come back and having postpartum depression and still being able to compete and get back on the. We've seen a lot. I mean,
or her injuries over the years.
the back injury stuff. I mean, like
the heat
a
stroke
lot,
from
a
Murph.
lot of athletes have had everything handed to them, whether they were good or not. Like, they just seem to be like kind of a Midas touch. Everything they touched was gold. But it's rare when you see, because an athlete wins everything doesn't mean that they have a lot of heart and they have a lot of grit. It just means that they're just really good. When you see them lined up against like adversity of life, adversity of injuries, adversity of all of these other things, and still be able to drive through it, then you're like,
Yeah.
you're pretty badass. Like, that right there
I mean,
is a badass.
that's a great point because, okay, look at the greatest of all time that we've had in the sport. Rich Froning, 1 second place, 4 first place finishes. Matt Fraser, 2 second place, 5 first place finishes. Tia Toomey, same thing, 2 second place, 5 place. They've never been less than second.
Right.
And they've won 4, 5, and 5. And it's hard to relate to that. And I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like when Rich stepped away, you're like, "Oh, that sucks." And then when Matt stepped away, you're like, "Oh shit, I didn't think he was going to do that." And then when Tia steps away, we've been waiting for it.
Yeah.
But Annie, like we said, she came in and she was the real catalyst for, her and Miko, and that was the same year, right? 2009, Miko Salo. They were the catalysts to the European dominance that is the CrossFit Games right now, especially on the women's side. Right? There is no Katrin Davidsdottir without Annie Thorisdottir. There is no Sarah Sigmundsdottir without Annie Thorisdottir. There just isn't. They don't exist.
Yeah.
Maybe they do. Nah. And to watch how she grew up and win, dominate, get hurt.
How many times do you think she was going to quit? Like be out of the games. You know what I mean? Like she's
how many
so
times
much
hey,
that's a great. She had a great run. She had a great run, man.
Right,
good job, Annie. And then
hang it
back
up
next
now.
year. You're like, wait, really? It's not a bad thing to hang it up. Like you're okay. And then all of a sudden she comes in and kicks everyone's ass, and you're like, oh shit, okay,
yeah,
okay. And I guess you're back again. And then she's mainstay, and then something happens and boom, she's out again. And then she comes back in. It's like, maybe you're just enjoying doing whatever. Boom, and she smashes everyone again. You're like, and there she is again, another mainstay. It's like, I guess you're just in the whole time. Okay.
Yeah, and maybe that is the emotional element that we can. Well, and she's so passionate, right? Like you know how Annie feels at all times.
Yeah.
Super smiley. She's always been that way. If she's serious, she's serious, and she's not, she's goofy, and like, but we get that, right? We get that from her, and we've got to ride this ride along with her. And I think the ebbs and flows and the adversity does humanize the athlete a bit more, so you have more of a personal draw to that athlete. Yeah. I'm with you. I think of all the ones here, that's the front runner to being top 10 all-time Mount Rush moments, and I would argue maybe top 5. I can't even think of what the other 4 would be, but just that moment with everything behind it, like we just spent some time talking about, I agree. That's a great pick.
Yeah, we will. I think that's something that we have to do is maybe compile something of all time. And I think it would be kind of a living document, because there will be some things that kind of bump them off or change them up a little bit. But yeah, you're right. I have no idea. Offhand, I can't.
Think of a crane, like a man. I don't know, because there's so much in that. Like it's like, oh, it's one face during a lift. You're like, no, it's 12 years leading up to that moment.
Yeah. What about Matt and Tia coming across the line at the last event?
Yeah.
Both winning the event, both taking first place.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Hand in hand. We've never seen anything like that,
No, never seen anything like that. What's another one? Carrie Pierce in Atlanta. It just as a performance. That was one of the gutsiest ones I've ever seen. I don't know.
That would take some time. Take some time.
I can't think of that off the top of my head, and I wouldn't want to bore you guys too much with that idea. That's a good one.
I think we're going to put that together, though.
We'll have to put that together. Ooh. Man, should we make it like really legit? Like keep it top 4, not even top 10?
Oh, dang.
That's the deal with our Mount Rush moments. We only get 4.
Yeah.
Only get 4. Sure. I'm trying to think of when the appropriate time to do that will be. That's a good question. Well done. Yeah, I liked yours. That was good. That's good.
Well, this was a good year. This was a good year.
I was going to say, before we close things out, just overall this year in general, from the CrossFit perspective, it was, I felt like it was a rekindling year.
It was a thank God we're making our way back.
Yeah.
Thank God. In all aspects of whatever. Like, the last couple of years have been just a shit show in all directions. And we, especially us, have grown up with CrossFit and it's been part of our life for such a long time. And it's been such a meaningful part for so many people's lives and it got stuck. And we needed the wheels to get back on the road and do what it does so people can feel good and be happy and get healthy and have their community and have their group and have their tribe and have their sport and have their thing that they want to talk about and bug people about all the time. And that's what 2021 was. It was like, thank God we're back. Ugh.
Yeah, I agree. Because like 2019 fiasco of everything getting changed, 2020 fiasco of so many different things. And yeah, to have some semblance of normalcy, some at least the compass pointing north,
Yeah.
to have a direction, to have some solid foundation instead of not knowing what's going on or what's to come, I think has been very special. And great because of all the things, I mean, if anything I've ever complained about in 2021 is compared to what we had in 19 and 20, I think was dumb. Like what am I complaining about? Too many GHD sit-ups?
Too many GHD sit-ups.
I mean, a legitimate gripe, but compared to what we've been dealing with, like you said, Bill, for 2 years and what this year meant as a whole, to hopefully be another stepping stone or launching pad of 2022, man, thank goodness for how 2021 shook out.
Yeah, totally.
I think and in the time frame in which they did that, think about that. Like we didn't have a rule book until like a week before the game season started this year. We didn't know what the structure was going to be. They're like, yeah, we got quarterfinals. Like, oh shit, that's good to know. The Open starting next week. Things like that, right? It's like, okay, we're going continental with our semifinals, and this is the new semifinal structure. The old regionals is now the semifinals, the quarterfinals, and the CrossFit games, and things are going to be live again, but only half of them, and we do a virtual, and like that was all so last minute. Like Noble taking over the title sponsor of the CrossFit Games, so last minute. The CrossFit Games getting put on was so last minute. Like how much work they did in a matter of months is a miracle.
Yeah.
I don't think you guys understand. It was a miracle that the games even happened because of all the limitations that they had and the time frame they had to work with. Because normally, I mean, we've been told this, as soon as the games are over, they are planning for the next games, the next week. And that goes for media, that goes for HQ, that goes for, Dave and programming. Like they start the next year. They had like 3 months to set the game stuff up from a media perspective. It was wild.
Yeah.
And they pulled it off. And the off-seasons events were great. Rogue was unbelievable. Dubai was back. It was good to have those things back. There was all those events over across the pond in Europe. I mean, those things are getting bigger once again. And I think my only hope is that we can expand more coverage to these off-season events other than just like Rogue, Dubai, and Wadapalooza.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, I remember that there was, I think there's some strength and depth things, some Butcher's Classic things that were out there. I know the Desert Sand thing that Mayhem was trying to put on didn't happen, but the more exposure we can bring worldwide to all these off-season things, I think it would be even cooler.
Oh,
and
hell yeah.
hopefully we can do that in 2022.
Totally.
And yeah, what a year, man. What a year. Happy New Year, Bill.
Happy New Year, dude.
New Year. Yeah, that was good. Rush moment number 5. Being able to sit here and do this with you, man.
Oh, look at you getting all sappy again.
I'm not going to cry.
Lies.
Yeah. If the live feed just cuts out, you know what happened. Yeah, but as always, things that we're thankful for the year, definitely thankful for you, sir.
100%. I'm just thank you brought me along on the ride, my friend.
Hey, we're on this ride. We're driving this ship together, and thankful for you guys out there. Thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for being involved so much. Thank you for the support. It really can't express enough how much it means to me. And I feel like the more I thank you guys, it's like, oh, here we goes again. It's like, I can't say it enough.
Right.
Because we be doing this anyways, but to have y'all support in the way that we do it, it's just been, it means the world. So I want to thank you guys for going along this journey with us. And we're just, hey, like Justin Medeiros, we're just getting started, baby. Just getting started. Happy New Year, everyone. And we'll see y'all in 2022.
Bye, guys.